RevHp. My name is for those of you who don't know me. And today we are back with another DIY. This time around we have the Ninja 650 here with us. Now this bike is going to get a brake pad replacement and brake fluid replacement as well. So we've already covered that, the brake fluid replacement I mean, in another video. It was our very first video on RevHp. So if you need a detailed explanation on how to get that done, you can go ahead and check that video. In this we'll just be covering whatever is new and you should be knowing when it comes to bleeding brakes or a brake setup that has dual discs up front. In this case, this bike has a twin disc setup, so it's got two calipers, so it's slightly going to be different in that aspect. So I'm going to cover that. I'm going to show you guys what exactly you need to be looking out for whilst changing the brake fluid or replacing the brake fluid in such bikes. So it's going to be an easy job. This time around we decided to come up with a difficulty scale just to give you guys a rough idea of how tough the job is going to be for all of the DIYs out there. So this one, on a scale of 1 to 5, I'm going to put at around maybe say 2. It's fairly easy, so you should be able to do it. Other than that, we are going to be using dot 5.1 on this bike. It's something different that we are going to try. And as for the brake pads, we got Brembos, so we'll see how they are. Probably Chris is going to give you guys a review on that as well, how the braking improves. So that video is going to come out soon as well. Yeah, but that's what we're going to be putting on this bike. So let's not waste any more time. Let's quickly get started. Okay folks, so before we start with the video, I'll quickly walk you guys through the tools that we'll require for the service. So for starters, we have a key socket wrench with us here. You can use a normal socket as well. This is a 12 mm. This is to break the front caliper bolts loose, so you'll require that. Other than that, you will require a 10 mm ring spanner for the bleeder valves, so make sure you have that. Other than that, you will need a 6 mm Allen key or Allen bit for the rear caliper bolt, so that is held in place by hex head bolts. So another thing to keep in mind, if you have got 1/2 inch or 3/8 inch drive bits, that would be better. It's recommended because those are torqued down pretty tight. In order to break those loose 1/4 inch bits like these won't really help. I'm going to use a Tommy for that, and probably something that would give me enough leverage to break it loose, so bear that in mind. Other than that, you'll also require a Phillips head for the front reservoir cover cap, so make sure you have that. Other than that, this is again a special tool. It's not really required, but then it makes your life a lot easier, so make sure you have these. These are called channel locks. I'll be using these to push the caliper pistons inside. They are pretty hard otherwise. Some of the mechanics also use flatheads. They just shove it in and just try to push the pistons in with a flathead, which I do not really recommend. Make sure you get one of these. These are pretty handy. So other than that, you can also, if at all you don't have a channel lock with you, then you can maybe use a Type-C clamp to push the pistons in, but I prefer this over the Type-C clamp. So yeah, other than that, you will require nose pliers. This is to pull the quarter pins out, and also there's another pin holding the brake pads in place, so in order to pull that pin out, you will require a nose plier. Other than that, a syringe. This will suck the old brake fluid out. Now if you need to know what exact tools you'll require to do the brake bleeding process, make sure you go and check out our first video on the channel, which is going to show you all of the tools you require for brake bleeding. And other than that, you'll require a hose as well. Make sure this is a clear hose. That is again for the brake bleeding. Other than that, we have a torque wrench. We'll be using this for the front. This is a 1/2 inch drive, so we can't really use it to torque down the rear Allen bolt since this is a 1/4 inch. So yeah, You can do without a torque wrench as well, but then yeah, it's safer to use a torque wrench. Okay, so as for the other requirements, you'll require the brake pads and the brake fluid. Now the brake fluid that we'll be using is DOT 5.1. The one which Kawasaki recommends for this particular bike is DOT 4, but then that doesn't really matter, it's compatible, so you can use DOT 5.1 as well. Chris probably is going to give you a feedback on that as well. Other than that, we have chosen to go with Brembo sintered brake pads, LA compound for the front and SP compound for the rear. We source them from Octane Power Sports. We'll link them down in the description, so yeah, you can go ahead and check them out. Other than that, I think that's pretty much all you'll need, so let's get started with the video. Okay guys, so we'll start with the brake pad replacement at the rear. So one more thing to bear in mind before you start with the brake bleeding process, make sure you have the new brake pads fitted and then do the brake bleeding. Now in order to get this particular caliper out, you have to get these two Allen bolts out and then your caliper will be free. So I've already cracked them loose. These are pretty tight, so make sure you have enough leverage when you work on these. Let's quickly get these out. Okay, so that's your old brake pads. Now in order to get these out, you'll have to get this particular pin holding the two brake pads in. So for that you have this particular quarter pin here. It's out, and then you see this pin. This particular pin holds these two brake pads in place, so make sure you get a needle nose and just pull it out like that. So that's out. So this is your brake pad, the old one, and here you have the other brake pad. Okay guys, so in order to change the new brake pads, you have to push the piston, brake caliper piston inside. So for that you have to open the brake reservoir cap. So make sure you support it at the bottom like that. It's pretty weak, so go ahead, open it up like that, and yeah, now you can go ahead and push the piston inside. So try pushing it using your hands. Okay, doesn't seem to be going in, so we will have to use maybe channel locks like these. If at all you have these, you can make use of these, or else you can get a C clamp like this in order to push the piston back in. So I will use the channel locks since I have those as well. Okay guys, so once you have the brake pads and everything out, make sure you clean the internals of the caliper, and you can use brake cleaner. I have this one here. If at all you don't have any brake cleaner, then you can also use soap water, and yeah, you see a lot of brake dust here. It usually collects on the insides here, so make sure you clean that off. And yeah, once we clean this, we'll quickly go ahead and install the new brake pads. Before that, we'll have to push this piston in, and like I said, we'll have to leave the reservoir cap open for that. So I'll just give this a quick clean, and then we'll see you once we are done with this. Okay, So we'll go ahead and push the pistons in using the channel locks. Grip it on either sides and then go ahead and just set like that. Should go in. There you go. So make sure it's completely in, because you have to make room for the new brake pads. So yeah, we'll quickly get those new brake pads inside. Like I said earlier, we'll be using Brembos. So these are your new brake pads. Go ahead and just place these in. Like so. And the front one, I mean the other one, like that. And at this point, make sure that hole matches with the one on the brake pads, and then at that point you have to slide this particular pin inside. Also make sure you inspect this pin. If there are any grooves or anything, you'll have to replace this. Now this one looks fine to me, so I'll just use this one itself. Go ahead and put that in like that. So there you have it, your brake pads are in. At this point, go ahead and install the quarter pin back in, and you're good to go. Okay guys, so once you have the brake pads installed, go ahead and torque these down to 25 Newton meters if you have a torque wrench. And yeah, that should be it. Now we'll go ahead and install the front brake pads, and after that we'll do the bleeding. Okay guys, so now we'll replace the front brake pads. For that we have to break these two loose and then get the caliper out. Okay, so this one too has a similar kind of a pin here. So it has again a quarter pin. Go ahead, get that quarter pin out. And then using a needle nose, just pull the pin out. So this is one brake pad, that's the other one. Okay, so just like we did with the rear, we are going to clean these as well. These two pistons, a lot of brake dust here as well, so we'll clean them up and again push them inside using the channel locks or whatever, the C clamp. And again, whilst pushing them in, you have to take the front brake reservoir cover out, open, and then after that you should be able to push these two pistons in. So before that, we'll clean it up, we'll push them in and then install the new brake pads. Okay guys, so once you've pushed the pistons inside, we'll have enough room to get the new brake pads in. So go ahead and put the new brake pads inside. Okay, that's one. That's the other one. Okay, so at this point again, match the hole on the brake pads and the one for the pin given on the caliper, and push the pin inside, and then go ahead and install the quarter pin back in, and you're good to go. You can fit the caliper back on, and I'm not going to record the other side because it's going to remain the same. One more thing to bear in mind, make sure you figure out which one is for the left side and which one is for the right side, because if at all you try to fit this in, it won't go, because these are meant for the left side, these are for the right. So make sure you figure that out as well, and then go ahead and fit the caliper back on. One more thing, before you push the pistons inside, go ahead and suck some of the old brake fluid out, so that when you push the pistons in, you will have some room in the reservoir for the old brake fluid, which will tend to fill up the brake fluid and in the reservoir, and it's going to overflow if you leave the cap open. So make sure you suck some out using a syringe, and then go ahead and push the pistons in. Okay, so I'll quickly install the right side caliper and then work on the left one, which I'm not going to shoot because it's going to remain the same for the left side as well. So yeah, we'll quickly go ahead and install the caliper back on. Okay guys, so once you got the caliper back on, go ahead and torque these two bolts down. The torque spec for these is 34 Newton meters or else 25 foot-pounds. So go ahead and set your torque range to 25 foot-pounds and then torque them down. Okay, there's a click. Okay guys, so we've already fitted back the calipers and installed the brake pads as well. So now we'll go ahead and quickly bleed the brakes. I'm not going to record that because we've already done a video, detailed video on how to bleed the brakes on your motorcycle. So make sure you go ahead and check that out. We'll link it down in the description so that you can easily get the video. Now before we wind up, I'll also like to mention again, repeat it, you have to bleed the brakes, at least on this one, from the left caliper, starting with the left caliper first, because that is the farthest point. And like I mentioned earlier, the logic behind this is, by the time you get back to the right side caliper, you'll already have new brake fluid in. There are many bikes which have that junction, like in this case the junction is here, the line comes here, and then from this point it goes to the other side. In some bikes the junction is right here somewhere, right below the triple T, so that's where the brake lines bifurcate. Now in those bikes it doesn't really matter which side you bleed first, you can go ahead and do the right or the left as per your choice. With this one, however, make sure you do the left hand side first. With that said, I think we'll wrap the video up. We do not have daylight, so I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to record the brake bleeding process. Go ahead and check that video out. And yeah, this is going to be it for this particular video. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, make sure you drop a like, and before leaving, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if at all you have any queries, don't hesitate to drop a comment down below in the comment section. With that said, we'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, you guys take care, ride safe, bye bye.